Coming up on the TerryTalks show.
Your parents may not have had the best of it all. What would you say to that young girl hidden somewhere?
I'll start off by just clarifying that there's no such thing as having it all. It matters who you bring into your life. I'm married to somebody who's understanding of those moments when I'm saying, I can't wife this week.
Oh yeah,
Greetings to our viewers. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us from all the paradigms in which you exist around the world. With me this afternoon is a phenomenal lady, Nozipho, who will indulge and give us a bit of her background and what has led her to this place within the set time that we exist. Nozipho carries the grace and the phenomenal embrace to touch your life, to change and inspire you in terms of conversation. She understands the ability to harness a conversation, the ability to take it, break it, chop it up, and bring it to you and serve it to you on a platter which best serves you. So, without much ado, I would like to welcome Nozi onto the TerryTalks show.
Thank you so much for having me. What a privilege.
The privilege is all ours, and thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
The topic and the agenda that brought you on the show is all things inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
We have been living within a dark season, if I might say. For some, it's been a curse. For some, it's been a blessing. For some, it's brought out the best in their gifts. For some, they've been found, Elsa Majimbo, to mention one amongst many. For some, from different and various places because of the digital forum and platform that we have. So I would like you to just give us a bit of your background before we divulge into the core matter of inspiration.
I always think that's such a dangerous question. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because I think I could speak for hours, but I'm going to try and keep it brief. Mm-hmm. I come from a city called Pietermaritzburg in the province of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Mm-hmm. I come from a relatively small family. Mm-hmm. I have 3 sisters. I have a brother. I grew up in this very tight-knit family, very strict family, Christian family. And I think my story is not very different from many black South Africans who are in the same age range. We grew up poor. My parents weren't educated. My mom and my dad didn't have a matric until my mother decided to go back to school at the age of 48. Yeah, my mother was a street hawker. My father worked in shoe factories. And I was really privileged to have really hardworking parents who didn't let what they had and where they come from define what could be for their children. And so I got the best education you can imagine in the world. I went to some of the best schools in the country. I've studied abroad. I've studied in South Africa. I've had incredible opportunities to work in some amazing places. I've worked in the office of the Deputy President in South Africa. I've worked in the office of the Mayor in Washington, D.C. I've done broadcasting as a financial journalist on CNBC Africa. And today I run my own business called The Conversation Strategist. And for a living, I'm a conversation strategist. And when people ask me, what does that mean? I always tell them it's working with smart people, helping them to have simple conversations that make the world a better place.
Simple conversations that make the world a better place. Should we switch roles?
No, I don't get interviewed often, so I'm happy to be on this side of the seat today.
I've seen that you've got a very busy schedule. How do you manage between these schedules? It looked hectic when I saw it. You are very spot on in what you do. What brought this about as you then indicate to us the specifications of what makes Nozi tick?
Sure, I think there's a lot of questions there. So I'm going to start off with the question of balancing first. You know, this phrase that women can have it all, I think is a very misinformed phrase. I think what we tend to do is that we choose what we prioritize. And I've been very clear about those priorities. So for example, in my 20s, I was very clear that my priority was education. I wanted to grab every single educational opportunity that I had. So I was not looking for marriage. I was not looking to have children. I was not looking to run a business. It was all about education. I'm now in my 30s, and my priority now is building a business and making sure that I'm building a firm foundation from a business perspective. I'm building wealth such that when the focus really then becomes about family, as I head into my 40s, I'm able to build a family in and bring a family into a space that I can give them much more than I would have had and that I have had. At a day-to-day level, I can't overestimate this. It's just about discipline. It's about getting up, understanding what's on your to-do list and getting through your list, whether that be I'm getting up, I'm training, I'm getting on client meetings, I'm meeting my promises in terms of what I've promised to my clients, and I'm being disciplined about spending time with my husband. I'm being disciplined about switching off my laptop and my phone and making sure that I'm plugged in. I'm disciplined about making sure that I pick up the phone and I call my sisters and I check on them. I'm disciplined about the fact that my nephews are my children, so when they do something great at school, I have to be on that call. I have to do the video call. I need to do the congratulations. But I'm kind on myself about some of the balls that I will put down, because I can't juggle them all up in the air. And so when I have to put something down, I allow myself to put that down. And maybe the other element of that is it matters who you bring into your life.
Okay.
I think if I was married to somebody, for example, who didn't understand that and was looking for a superwoman who would always be the perfect wife, would always be the perfect sister, always be the perfect businesswoman, I wouldn't have a marriage. And so I'm married to somebody who's understanding of those moments when I'm saying, I can't wife this week. So
you can't wife,
I
really?
can't wife this week. There will be no cooking, but I'll be home with you and I'll check in. This is what I can do. And so being accommodating and kind to yourself, I think allows you to be accommodating and kind to others. And I think that's how I get it done. I am very driven. I have what I would describe as my own internal burn. I've got an internal motivation. I don't always need to feel that I need to be motivated by others. And I think a lot of us who come from not having much are like that, because we understand what it's like to not have much, and so we run towards a world where we can have more, and we don't need anybody else clapping for us on the side or encouraging us. We know what the job that needs to be done is, and we get the job done. And that is my philosophy in life. Get the job done.
Get the job done. To our viewers that are listening, there's an interesting dynamic you mentioned just now. A key word being balance. Is balance achievable? Why I ask that is I've noticed that go-getters tend to drift in one lane and they can't really shift out of it to try and bring that balance, as the coaches tell us, as our mentors tell us. But is balance achievable?
You know, if you think about, people talk about juggling balls in the air. And you just need to understand that not every ball is a glass ball.
Okay.
Not every ball cannot afford to fall. There are some balls that can fall and they'll bounce right back. So my world and my marriage is not going to fall apart because I can't cook this week. And so if that's the ball that needs to fall, that's the ball that needs to fall, because the ball that needs to stay up in the air is a client delivery that I need to get to. And so balance is a very personal thing, because it needs to be about, according to what is important to me right now, what am I open to putting down? What am I open to lifting up? What am I putting first? What am I putting last? And that is your own balance. What I don't like is this idea that there's a universal concept of balance, that balance means that you have to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all at the same time. I don't believe that. Balance is about trusting yourself and believing in yourself enough, knowing that if the ball is in the air, that's because I'm giving it the best that I can. And the one that is on the floor, I will pick it up at the right time. And when I do that, when I become present in my family setting, I'm going to do that exceptionally well as well. So balance is an individual expression of priority.
Wow, very, very well articulated there. And balance being something that is not universal, as you have said. Well, now there's a girl child sitting somewhere who wants to be in the corporate space. You've mentioned CNBC. You've mentioned the conversations that you're holding weekly with great minds like yourself. And they're saying, but it looks like you mentioned that you went to some of the best schools. Your parents may not have had the best of it all, but they managed to take you to the best.
Yeah.
What would you say to that young girl hidden somewhere across the country? And she's saying, but when I look at you, Nozi, you look like you've got it all together.
Yeah.
I'm in here, I'm in KwaZulu-Natal, I'm struggling, I've just been abused, I've been gone through all this stuff that's taking place around the world. What would you tell me? How would you lift me up in this season?
Yeah. I'll start off by just clarifying that there's no such thing as having it all. And if anybody's looking at me right now and thinking that I have it all, it couldn't be furthest from the truth. There are many things that I desire that I don't have. And I think it's normal for us to begin to understand that, not because we need to look to people for flaws in people, but to understand that there is no perfect state. There is no place of arrival where you have it all. I'm a work in progress in many respects. And so that's part of my journey. Yeah, that is part of my journey. But, you know, in terms of people who look up to me, I always say my personal experience, this is not science, this is not something that's been, you know, written about. This is my personal experience. My personal experiences that make every single moment count. And I'll give you an example. When I had to make the decision to go to university, we didn't have money for me to go to university. So we went to loan sharks, we went to aunts and uncles and friends to get registration money. Once we had registration money, we then in South Africa have something called the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, right? And so I was able to apply to that so that my fees would be paid. Now, I looked at the prospectus at the University of Pretoria where I wanted to study, and I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to become a medical doctor because that's what I'd always had in my heart and in my mind. But I had to be realistic and look at what is the cheapest course in this prospectus that I can study that just gets me a foot in the door.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up studying political science. It was the cheapest thing that you could study at the University of Pretoria. Now, having studied political science, I then got a job in the office of the deputy president. Because of political science, I then got a scholarship to go do my master's in the UK. The point that I'm making is, don't wait for the perfect moment. Whatever is within reach, that is what you grab with both hands, and that's what you run with. And you take the little that you have in your hands and you work with it. Don't look at the less that you have relative to other people and think that this then means that you cannot. No, you have something unique that other people don't have, and look at that and see the value in it and work with it. So in everything that I've done, I've always just said, if I can get my foot in the door. I got invited to come and anchor at CNBC Africa. I've never studied journalism. I've never studied communications. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, these guys must have lost their mind. Why on earth would you want somebody who knows nothing about the stock market, knows nothing about how to trade shares, to come and anchor a continent-wide platform? But there was something that they were seeing that they felt that they could work with. And so I picked up my hand and I said yes. And once I was in and I had the platform, I then went and I studied and I did a second master's, and I immersed myself in understanding business and understanding finance and really trying to understand, how do I get to be the best in the world at this? I didn't wait to come from a family that talks about the stock exchange over dinner. I couldn't wait to be like, oh, I need a degree in finance first before I can go and talk financial numbers with CEOs. The door opened and I ran through it. And so this is it's a very simple analogy. Make every single moment count. That's it. Don't wait for it to be perfect. It's never going to get perfect. And if you keep looking at yourself through the frame of disadvantage, you will always be disadvantaged. And so you've got to almost think about how this place that you're in right now gives you an advantage. And the fact that I came from a place with no financial background made me one of the best anchors there because I was hungry for it. I knew what it was not to have this. And so I think half the time is that we look at our situations and we think, this is not designed for people like me. It's exactly for people like you because you wanted more than anybody else who could have just reached out their hand and taken it.
Political office, CNBC, and more accolades that are still coming, I hope.
For sure.
Where do we see ourselves in the future? Is this enough? Have we done enough? Do we think the go-getter in us has had enough?
So I recently came across something that just moved my heart so much. And it comes from a case study from Kenya. And it is the study of Kenyans and why they dominate on the world stage when it comes to long distance running. And the quote says, it's not enough to just be the best in the world. You have to strive to becoming the best for the world. And when I heard that the first time, I cried because I felt that I'd almost heard God speaking to me, saying to me, you've had your journey of trying to be the best in the world. And I say without hesitation, I know that I'm, if not the best, amongst the best in the world when it comes to moderating. However, my journey now is not about me and being best in the world. It's about being best for the world. And what do I do now with my life that allows my life to count for the world, my life to count for others, for other people to say, because Nozi lived, because Nozi was courageous, because she was unafraid, this is what I was able to do. So other people's success and other people's journeys can come alive because of how I walk my journey. So the long and short of your answer is, there is no place of arrival, there is no enough. I just have a different take on what my life is about right now. Somebody said it to me a couple of years ago, and they said it's about significance over success. And I'm at a point where I am successful. I don't chase success anymore. What I'm chasing is significance. I want my life to matter.
As we wrap up, what's your advice, number one, to the youth, number two, to the upcoming entrepreneur, and number three, to government, and how can it harness and create opportunities for the next upcoming entrepreneur, number one, and the career-driven person, because sometimes we look at entrepreneurship and forget the career-driven type of person who wants to aim to become a CEO, marketing director, an apprentice, an intern. They don't want to be at the top tier, but they're still looking for that that aha moment. What would you say as we wrap up as a conversationalist yourself, and also just mentioning what the conversation is all about that you're pushing so powerfully?
So to young people, I'd say...
And old.
Let's start with the young ones first.
Okay.
So to the young people, I'd say, where you start has nothing to do with where you will end. Make every moment count. Even the things that the world sees at disadvantage, you have the ability to turn that into your advantage. Open the door and run through it. To older people, trust your wisdom.
Wow.
Share your
Trust
wisdom.
your wisdom.
Open your doors. Mentor and coach. Sometimes it's even the most informal mentorship that makes the difference to somebody who's aspiring and you just needs to know more. It's about sharing. It's about lifting others as you grow, right? To our government, I think we need to be courageous about the conversation around entrepreneurship. Let's stop failing our young people. Let's stop saying to unemployed youth that if they just were entrepreneurs, they wouldn't be unemployed. Let's begin to accept that we're all destined for different things. And some people just want to be really good at their job. And so what they need is an actual job. And so what we need to be doing at a policy level is making it easier for existing and aspiring entrepreneurs to grow their businesses so that they can hire more people and allow people to follow multiple pathways. Was there another stakeholder I've forgotten?
No, I think you've covered them all.
We've covered them all. So
the last one being yourself.
I don't know what to say about myself other than to say...
Pretty difficult, eh?
No. Other than to say, I've been a very, very lucky girl.
Okay.
I've been very, very blessed. And I remain incredibly grateful that I've been invited into the pathways that God has created and opened up for me. And I just hope that one day my life counts for something.
Wow, this has been an amazing journey in a short space of time. I would really like to thank you, Nozi, for gracing us with your grace, with your significance, with your power, with your effectiveness, and the grandiose that the world is yet to see. To everyone that is aspiring, that wants to become, I tell you, we have had a fiery moment on the TerryTalks show. Be prepared to hear a lot more from Nozi. To everyone and the viewers out there, thank you. Bye-bye.
Next on TerryTalks show.
Bege Zela Gilinde. Education should be a principle of finding yourself.